All right, so we're going to go over our focus check today. So please follow along, change the answers if you got one wrong. If you got it correct, go ahead and mark a check mark on your grid, okay? So we're going to start with number 1. So we have 4/6 plus 3/4. So if we're adding fractions, we have to have common denominators. So you have 6 and 4 as your denominators. So if you didn't know that 12 is our common denominator, you could look at 6 and 4, multiply 6 and 4 together and get 24. And then you can use that as your common denominator. You would just have to simplify at the end. So either one is fine. You can use 24 or 12. You'll get the same answer as long as you simplify. Okay, so I'm going to use 12 first. So I need to change both of these fractions into fractions with 12 in the denominator before I can add them. So they're going to be equivalent fractions to 4/6 and 3/4 just with 12 in the denominator. So 6 times 2 is 12. So 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. So 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, so now we have two equivalent fractions to the ones we started with. Now we can add them because they have common denominators. So you have 8/12 plus 9/12 gives you 17/12. And we can make that into a mixed number, 1 whole and 5/12. Remember, we can do that by dividing top dog in the house. So 17 divided by 12 will give you 1 whole and 5/12. Okay, so that is your answer for number 1. All right, number 2, again, we have common denominators when we're subtracting. So these are not common yet, so we need to make them into two fractions with common denominators. So you could change these to 40 or 20. Okay, you'll get the same answer, but you'll just have to simplify at the end. So I'm going to make this first one into a fraction with 20, and this one is already in 20 as the denominator. So 10 times 2 is 20, 2 times 2 is 4. Leave this next one the same. Now, 4/20 minus 5/20. Now we can subtract, but we have 4 and we're trying to take away 5. That's going to give us a negative number. So this is where we keep, change, flip. Okay, 4/20 plus negative 5/20. Keep, change, flip. Remember your integer rules. And now we're going to subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. So 5/20 is the bigger number, so we're going to keep that negative sign. And now subtract like normal. 5/20 minus 4/20 is 1/20. So negative 1/20. Okay? Number 3, we have fractions when we are multiplying them together. So you do not need common denominators. Okay? So we just multiply straight across. 7 times 2 is 14. 8 times 4 is 32. All right. Now you have 14/32. That simplifies by 2 on the top and the bottom. So we can simplify this to be 7/16. And that is your answer. All right, number 4, you are dividing fractions. So remember, keep the first fraction, change division to multiplication, and flip the second fraction, and then you're just going back to like a regular multiplication problem. Multiply straight across. 6 times 3 is 18. 9 times 1 is 9. Now, you have 18 divided by 9, or 18/9. What does that give you? 2. All right, so 2 is our answer. All right, next one, we are adding decimals. We have to line up our decimals when we are adding. So I'm going to kind of do it up here so I leave myself enough room. 4.875 plus 8.635. Line up your decimals. 5 and 5 is 10. 7 and 3 is 10 plus 1 is 11. 8 and 6 is 14 plus 1 is 15. 8 and 4 is 12 plus 1 is 13. Okay, and then bring your decimal on down. Your answer is 13.510. 13.510. Okay, Now, when we are subtracting decimals, again, you still have to line up the decimals, but look here, you have 10.75 minus 11.54. That is going to give us a negative number. So just like we did up here, keep change flip, keep the sign here, change to addition, change that number to negative number, okay? So now you're adding with different signs. We are like adding with different signs up here. We are going to subtract, keep the sign of the bigger number. So we know our answer is going to be negative. Now we subtract like normal. So I'm going to do that over here. We have 11.54 minus 10.75. All right, 4 minus 5 can't do that. So borrow from the 5, make it a 4. Make this 14. 14 minus 5 is 9. Okay, 4 minus 7, can't do that. Borrow from the 1, make it a 0. Make this 14. 14 minus 7 is 7. 0 minus 0 is 0. 1 minus 1 is 0. And then bring the decimal down. So 0.79. And we already said it's going to be negative. 0.79. Okay, now we have multiplying decimals. We do not have to line up the decimal here. Okay, so just multiply like normal. So we have 3.5 times 2.9. All right, 5 times 9 is 45. Okay, 9 times 3 is 27, plus 4 is 31. Add your placeholder. 5 times 2 is 10. Cross out the 4, so 10. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Add them together. So 5 and 0 is 5, 1 plus 0 is 1, 3 plus 7 is 10. Okay, now we don't just bring the decimal down on this one. We have to count how many numbers to the right of the decimal in our multiplication. Well, there's 2 numbers to the right of our decimal. So you need 2 numbers to the right of your decimal here. Now you also could do this. You could say move it over 1, move it over 1. So move it over 1 and 1 down here. So our answer is 10.15. All right. Now dividing, we have 1.15 divided by 0.23, 0.23. Now, we cannot divide with a decimal out here. This has to be a whole number. So I can move our decimal 2 places to the right, move the decimal 2 places to the right, and bring it on up. Now I have 115 divided by 23. So this becomes kind of guess and check. Okay, so let's start with, I'm going to do 23 times 4. We're going to see what that is. So 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 92, maybe we can do 23 times 5. Let's try that. 5 times 3, 15. 5 times 2 is 10, plus 1 is 11. 115. All right, so 23 times 5 is 115. So 5 is our answer. All right, now to the multiplication problem. So 12 times 6 is 72. 6 times 9 is 54. 4 times 9 is 36. 4 times 7 is 28. 7 times 5 is 35. 6 times 9 is, again, 54. I know I gave you that one twice. 7 times 9 is 63. 5 times 8 is 40. Okay, so on these 8 multiplication facts, on your grid, you just need to say how many of those facts you got correct. So if you got all of them correct, you're going to write 8 out of 8. If you got 7 out of the 8 correct, you'll write 7 out of 8. Okay, all right.